once it started.
Yeah, I just realized, of course, the screen is so small, I'm not going to be able to see the chat, so you guys may have to read it to me.
I will read it as well. Don't worry about that. That's fine.
I think we're live.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Today is a very special stream where we're going to discuss everything Martin guitars and acoustic guitars. If you have a question, please do write it in the chat and we'll address as many as we possibly can. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to my channel so you're notified of when I go live or post a new video. Just ring that bell and you'll be notified. Now, since we can't go inside the factory today, let's go and see my good friends Maury Rutch and Spoon Phillips. Here we go. What do you think of that, Maury?
I'm impressed. I was just there, but I didn't see it, Martin. Wow. You were on your game. I don't know what to do. I'm totally just, I'm beside myself. You have too much time or you're very dedicated. I can't be sure.
Spent hours on this stream today because we're joined by my friend Spoon Phillips. How you doing, Spoon?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you.
Thank you for your time. Thanks to all our friends in the chat. Do me a favor, if you're in the chat and you've got friends that like Martin guitars, send them a link to this and say, come and join us, come and hang out live. We really would appreciate it. And also give us a thumbs up as well, so the YouTube algorithm helps us out with that. Or give us a thumbs up. I really would appreciate it. We're still going to have our viewers comment of the week. We're still going to have the giveaway, so stick around for that. Thank you to Maury's Music for doing that. And today, like I said, is slightly different. No guitars today, lots of questions. And we've got the man here with the answers. Right, Spoon?
And the mug.
Yeah, it's always good to see Maury.
Awesome. So look, do me a favor in the chat. I'm moderating and managing everything today, so you might have to ask twice. Okay. So let me start. I'm going to start to get warmed up, and then I will be reading the chat through as well. If I miss your question, feel free to ask it again, and I'll be putting it either to Spoon or Maury today, or maybe both. We'll see how we go. So to get warmed up, first of all, thanks for joining us. I will come and say hi to everyone, but I want to start with a little warm-up question, I think. In fact, I think I'll make it really, really easy, okay? So this is more of a personal question. Maury, what music do you listen to in your spare time, if you have any spare time at all?
I do. I like to let people think I don't, but I do make some time, and that is a very personal question, and I love personal questions. When I'm really not playing music or recording music or, promoting music, I really, quite honestly, listen to a lot of Spoon Phillips. It's the chicken and the egg thing. We don't work with Spoon Phillips and then feel like we have to use his music everywhere else. We like using his music because we like his music. So it's Spoon Phillips. Off the cuff, it's Howard Emerson, Taya Gergen and Doug Young, Eric Sky, El McMean. Really, a lot of when I have the opportunity to really decide what I want to listen to, it's a lot of that solo finger style. Many times it's Martin guitar centric, and that's my honest off the cuff answer. We really do have a sincere love for that stuff that we make you listen to all the time on my channel.
That's great. Maury, anyone else that you may have forgotten?
Well, when I want to listen to one-man band style music, I'm a giant fan of Aaron Short, and you should probably subscribe to his YouTube channel because now he's doing things like live virtual duets. That guy, you got to watch him because if you blink for a couple seconds, something else is going to happen and you're going to miss it. But I should get one of your CDs now that we're on the subject. A little short of the mark there, but
I'm just pulling your leg. I know you wake up and listen to my album every day, Maury. How about you, Spoon? What? By the way, if you don't know Spoon, we won't spend too much time on Spoon's story today because I've actually got an episode with Spoon on my channel. So later on, you can go and watch that. And there's a whole 2 hours with Spoon Phillips. But what are some of your favorite things to listen to right now, Spoon?
Oh, well, right now, I put up my Christmas stuff listening to Vince Guaraldi's Trio's soundtrack to Charlie Brown Christmas that my dad used to play every Christmas Eve. And mixed in with that is some stuff from Chet Baker's Silent Nights and stuff from Dylan's Christmas album. But, Maury mentions people I would mention too. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of instrumental guitar playlists that I put together that have Howard Emerson stuff, and he's got a brand new album out that I haven't actually heard yet. And And a very lucky guy that he is, he just got a brand new John Monteleone guitar that John had made. Howie and John go way back together. And I have some of Maury's CD on that, particularly the song October, that is one of my favorite songs. But I've been going through a big Neil Young resurgence just recently because he just had his 75th birthday. So that's pretty amazing. And recently I've been going back through, what was I listening to recently? Counting Crows' first record, Pink Floyd Animals, some Django Reinhardt stuff, some Fats Waller stuff. So it bounces around, Leo Kottke, depends on my mood. And then I just uploaded on my phone a CD by a friend of mine, Bill Peebles, who lives in Loveland, Ohio, that guy I went to college with, who's a big Americana music fan and plays that style of music. So
That's awesome.
And Aaron too. But by the way, I don't get to see a lot of your live stuff, but I watch it after the fact. You tend to be on when I'm not available, but I'm so impressed with what you can do with your effects to flesh out, the stuff that you're doing. It's the harmonizers have come a long way since I played around with those things. The harmonizers and the rhythm stuff, and really cool. I've been enjoying it very much.
When you don't have the talent of Maury Rutz, you have to rely on these gizmos to fill in the gaps. Hey Spoon, one thing, I should have said this earlier. Is it possible to lower your camera? Because I feel like you're sitting down on the floor and we're sitting on the couch right now.
You mean like
which is
this?
fine. Yeah. Awesome,
this is a new setup for me.
That's great. Perfect.
Not for this sort of thing. Is that better?
Yeah, it's fine. It's just like you were lower down than we were. So has anyone in the chat ever had this though? Like you spend so much time, or you guys too. Personally, I find this quite embarrassing. Sometimes I listen to music less than I want to because I'm busy kind of learning songs, doing the live streams, looking for gigs, obviously before 2020. Sometimes I have to make a bit of an effort to do that. Whereas when I was a child, of course, I just listened to music all the time. I also feel like now there's so much music readily available that I kind of don't listen to it because it's all on my phone. I can listen to anything I want to. I have to make a real effort now to actually listen rather than just take out that CD and put that CD in the CD player. You ever experienced that, or is it just me?
I relate to a certain extent. I don't use any streaming services. But nowadays, the chip on my phone could hold the Library of Congress's music collection. So, but I must admit, I do end up in my own bubble. I have to be kind of prodded. I have some friends who are much better at saying, have you heard this new thing? Have you heard that new thing? And there's a record somebody just told me about called Blonde on the Tracks, which is a young woman who did a whole album of Dylan covers that has gotten a lot of great critical reception that I hadn't even heard of. So that's probably going to be my next thing to go look for. But
How about you, Maury?
Yeah, it's funny when I get in the car and I want to listen to a podcast. I know what I'm going to do, or if I want to choose songs, I'm probably like Todd. It's like Netflix at night. Like you spend 45 minutes trying to find something to watch for a half hour. What I do best is when I get in my wife's car and it goes to random. I'm not sure why Apple iTunes does what it does, but when I don't get in my own car, it'll just completely shuffle everything on my phone, and I'll forget so many albums I have. It's my own bubble stuff too, but it's stuff I haven't listened to in a decade. And when I do get the opportunity to kind of wheel through what I want to listen to, I'm kind of paralyzed a little bit. I'm not. It's almost like you were saying, Aaron. Too many things to choose from.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm on Pandora, sometimes I'm just on my phone, but quite often I'm on the phone. I think I'm going to listen to something fun, and then I'm on the way to Martin, and I'm just answering. What the time I'm doing that stuff is work time. So a lot of it is just work. I really should pick out more time to listen to music than I really do.
We could do on Mondays like a thing to listen to, like homework. So listen to this artist, and our friends in the chat could suggest people. Last week I was listening to my influences like early Oasis when I was a kid, that was all that stuff in England. And then I love Tom Waits. And when I actually do sit and listen to it, I really get sucked in. I love it. I have to remember sometimes to do it because there's so much stuff to do now with the internet and everything, which is good and bad. Anyway, our first question comes from Bob Dobson. Are you guys ready? I'll put this to Spoon Phillips first of all. It's a question for Maury and Spoon though. How come Martin does not scallop the X bracing on the 0015M and the 0015M models to make the top more lively? So scallop bracing, why don't Martin just scallop brace everything since everyone says scallop bracing is such a great thing? That's for Spoon. I'll start with Spoon and I'll come to Maury.
Okay, start with me. Well, first of all, I can't speak for Martin Guitar, and I know Maury can't either, because there's a lot of stuff that they don't tell people, or there's a lot of stuff they might tell people, but if you repeat it, they're not going to tell you anything ever again. So you can't. There's a lot of stuff I can't go on record about when it comes to that stuff. But the fact is, the bracing on the 15s is not typical bracing. It's already very light. The bracing on the 15s is the same bracing that was developed for the 1 series a long time ago. So it has an X brace with very light tone bars and not very many of them, and they're almost like popsicle sticks. So it's already very light. And if you play and people have done this, people will order mahogany top Martins with full bracing. They basically sound really thick and thuddy for a very long time. And the same thing with Koa. They requires a long time before those top woods will open up. So the 15s already come very lightly braced.
I really should have made that disclaimer before we started. This is not an official Martin video, by the way. This is my opinion, Maury's opinion as a dealer, and Spoon Phillips's opinion and experience. I should have made that clear from the beginning, but there we go. That's that out of the way now. That's cool. How about you, Maury? What do you think about that?
It's one of those things where I find that if you compare the internet forums like the Acoustic Guitar Forum, the UMGF, and then spread it out further into the Facebook groups, I think a lot of those people who we would consider really have their finger on the pulse and they're Martin centric and they're guitar nerds like us, and I mean that in a good way, they might be a smaller number of people than you think. And if you really were able to poll every Martin player that's going to buy a Martin guitar, I don't think it's really fair to say that everybody thinks scallop bracing is better or that's the way it should go. And it's just a variety thing. I think Martin still makes some guitars that aren't as heavily scalloped as they could be, just so the entire catalog is not the same bracing, probably. That's
interesting. Yeah, you're right.
I'd like to add one thing about that.
Yeah, sure.
I would like to add one more thing. It spends a long time. So they go through all kinds of exploratory builds, and they put different kinds of bracing on. Anytime they're coming out with a new model, they really go out of their way to try a bunch of different things in research that anything up. The stuff I see in R&D is usually late prototypes. Rarely do I see the stuff that they try and just toss away. So I know they went through with the 15s and the 17s when the 17s first came out and had mahogany tops. They did a lot of experimenting to find what they thought was the best resonance that was also going to stand up, over a long period of time in terms of the warranty of the guitar too. So it's not like they did this bracing on it. They try it out, test it. They get a lot of people to listen to it before they make their decision what they think is best.
Yeah, sure. I just see a lot on the forums. People now say scallop bracing is the best kind of thing. That's kind of the general thing right now, that it's better than none. I mean, do people call you, Maury, and say, I want to buy a guitar without the scallop bracing specifically? Do you see a sort of trend with that? Would you agree with what the internet is saying, or is that just what I'm seeing?
Well, if I could really be honest, I'm one of the guys that says scallop bracing is the best. It is a personal choice, so it's not that there is a best, but I'm on the side of thinking that it is. So there is some humor there where I'm not steering anybody away from it. But I don't necessarily have customers asking me for specific bracing patterns, but the conversations we do have about what they want to achieve, there are maybe a third of the time it sounds like what they're describing in their head would be best served with non-scallop braces, and it's almost to dumb it down as far as you can. How much bass is enough bass for you? And that's not saying that scalloping only affects the low end, but I think the more scallop something becomes, that you definitely, Todd might agree that you definitely do see a boost in the lower bass, at least the subwoofer side of things. So some people that might want an HD28, the more you talk to them, they probably want a D28. They don't want the bassiest thing, and that could get them away from scallop racing in some of the time. So it's to answer your question, I don't have a lot of customers asking me specifically for non-scalloped instruments.
Yeah.
Well, I would say with the standard D28 exists for very good sound. And I had a standard T28, there's 2000, and that I've played with in multiple band zones it now. In a room full of people, it always is very clear and really cuts through and works really well in ensemble playing. And there is something about the clarity and focus, the definition, fundamental definition that you get out of non-scallop racing. I know guys that play D28 from the late 50s, early 60s. They sound spectacular. None of those guitars have scallop racing. And scallop racing brings a resonance and a responsiveness, so you don't have to play them as hard to get the same level of volume. But I think a lot of people aren't familiar with straight brace guitars anymore, and would be surprised at how much they would like that less wallowy sound and that more note forward, less body resonant sound.
It's funny, as we get these questions, a million more questions just come to my mind. Like when I read it out and I started to think, here's a good question. I don't want to take over with my own questions, but for example, a question that could spin off that is, what is the difference between scalloped and non-scalloped? And over time, does non-scalloped age better than scalloped? I mean, that's two questions that just came off that. Have you got any quick thoughts on that, Spoon?
Better and different are two totally different things. Better is always going to be a personal choice or personal preference. So I wouldn't say no, they don't. I'd say age differently. The main difference is the flexibility of the bracing allows the top to flex and breathe under less lower levels of vibration. So one of the things people run into with scallop is the tops will overdrive. You will hit the ceiling of the top before it starts. The sound starts to distort. And when you get into racing, that ceiling's even lower. First album was originally designed for Adirondack spruce top because they knew modern players are used to the flexibility of Sitka. Well, people are using GE bracing with Sitka now. And that makes them even more flexible. So when you really strum, officially it is strumming, but I mean in a bad way. But you are getting this wall of sound as opposed to the clarity you would get with heavier bracing. And a good example is the Lawrence Schubert signature models have standard style scalloping, not GE scalloping, even though they're Adirondack bracing, because he plays really hard. And he wants the clarity, he wants the power that comes with the heavier but a lot more wood from the bracing. So I think people get in their head, they think something's going to do, and it may not, like Maury said, may not necessarily be really sound they're looking for. So, but it's what it comes down to. You're removing mass from the brace so the top is more flexible.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Okay, Kooky, our friend Kooky. How you doing, my friend? This is a really good... Thanks for being here. Thanks everyone for being here. This is a really great question because right now in New York, it's 50% humidity in my room right now with the humidifier turned off because it's so wet and humid right now. So do make sure you're humidifying your guitars. But Kooky asks an old question. Which made in the USA Martin is the least sensitive to weather? And I'll put this one to Maury Rutch. I'll put it on the screen for you, Maury. There we go. Which made in the USA Martin is the least sensitive to weather?
Wow, it's That's a dangerous question because none of them are so resistant to humidity that I should say that's the one to go to if you want to blow off the responsibility of keeping them in the right humidity. I think probably technically the guitars that are braced more heavily and have a thicker amount of finish, but that's really just splitting hairs. I don't think there's anything coming out of Martin from Nazareth that should be taken lightly with regards to humidity. So I don't want to skirt that question, but I don't think it's not like they make a product that is just, for that. The X series from Mexico is probably why the Nazareth part of the question is in there. The X series are, with the high pressure laminates instead of wood, are certainly built for that reason. And Spoon might remind people, but the bracing's still wood, so you still have to be careful of that. I have to say none, and that's not a trick answer, but I don't want to give anybody the thought who's watching this that you could, aim at a certain series from Nazareth to get ahead of the curve with humidity. That you really do have to be careful. Anything coming out of that factory is going to be vulnerable.
Right. Yeah, the other series is obviously. I see the question now. It's which made in USA Martin is least sensitive to weather. I mean, you're going to have to take care of all of them, right? Until Martin made a carbon fiber guitar, that's I would say you got to look after everything. Have you got any thoughts on that, Spoon?
Yeah, I agree. It's a trick question. You're talking about extremely thin plates of wood, solid wood. You have no idea. They're all natural resources. No idea which one of those pieces of wood is going to withstand the fluctuations better than another piece of wood. The nitrocellulose leather with a high gloss finish is really not that different than the satin finishes in terms of how thick it is. And I mean, satin finishes are a little thinner. I don't think they use any of the hand rub mineral oil finishes on American-made guitars. I think they're only in the Mexico guitars. Don't know if that would do it with something that doesn't have binding matter. The 21s don't have purfling around the edge of the top, so the edge of the top isn't quite as thin. Would that matter? I wouldn't gamble on any of that stuff. Unfortunately, my apartment with these 9-foot tall ceilings, right now, when the radiators are not on, I have 45 degrees in an unhumidified room. I have 53 degrees in my guitar room over here. But I have to have 2 humidifiers running, one at each end of the room to keep it stable. Yeah. And the moment those radiators come on, I can't get it up to 50%. I'm at like 48's like the best I can do. And out here in this room goes from 46 to 36 like that. And so New York City is a dreadful place. That being said, I don't think I've ever met a Martin in Arizona that didn't have a crack in it or didn't have loose, wobbly binding. And I'm talking about not in shops. I'm talking about in bars and honky tonks and stuff like that in people's homes. I'm glad I don't live in a place like Arizona where it's that arid that you have to. Leo Kottke famously said there are guitars built in Spain that only work in Spain. And the moment you take them away on a plane, they start to fall apart because they're that delicately made. These Martins are not that delicately made. There's plenty of people who let their Martins dry out, and by the luck of the draw, they don't crack. But you still get those sharp fret ends. That's the first thing. The moment you start feeling those fret ends getting sharp, you're under humidified. And plenty of people with old Martins got big bellies open out of the bulging behind the bridge and stuff. They still like their guitars. It's up to you if you want to, keep them humidified.
Yeah, I think we can safely say that any wood guitar, don't take any chances with it. I mean, why would you? You don't need to. So I think I know of someone that sells some great humidity accessories. Can't think of his name right now. I'll let you know later on. Okay.
If I could be a smart aleck, I want to. Can I fact check something Spoon said? Spoon, I'm going to trust you meant 45%, and that you're not really sitting in a house of 45 degrees.
Oh, did I say degrees? Yeah, 45%. Yes.
Look, this is with my humidifier turned off.
I use the same humidifier.
Yeah.
Or not hygrometer, rather.
Hydrometer, yeah. Awesome. Okay, now, I've been doing my live streams like we said, and Steve Smith has been stopping by. And for the last 2 weeks, he's been going on about this custom HD28 ordered from Maury's Music. He's incredibly excited, and he wants Spoon to sound off on this order that he's placed. So let me bring it up on the screen. Hi, Steve. Thanks for joining us. Really do appreciate it. And he says, hey, Spoon, I've just ordered a custom HD28 Addy top, all golden era marquee specs, wood grain, East Indian back and sides, with a 1/7/8 neck with amber tone finished. What's your input on this custom? And you're not allowed to say you don't like it, okay, Spoon?
Well, I hope if we meet, you don't hurt my hand when you shake it, because you obviously have a big hand if you're playing a long scale dreadnought with 1/7/8 neck. My friend Tony Phillips would appreciate that very much. I think it's going to have a huge sound. It's going to have a big, huge sound. Yeah, I think the golden era bracing was designed specifically for those dreadnoughts, really. And big neck, Steve Swan was always famous saying, "Big neck, big sound." And I'm a big believer in, Steve Stills famously said, holding up a vintage D45, that this is a guitar that rattles, and anything you do to this or add to this guitar, take away from it, affects how beautifully it rattles. So I do believe that neck mass and what material the neck's made out of, all that stuff, will have some effect on tone. And that big neck with that bracing and that big sound chamber is going to be massive. So, and the amber tone makes it look like an old D28 that the old D-Black Sunburst has slowly faded away over years and years into that mellow amber tone. Yeah, congratulations.
I think you deserve a round of applause for that awesome custom order, and I do hope you'll let us show it off. If we indeed were still here, Maury, when that thing arrives, which hopefully won't be too long, I hope you'll let us show us off on the channel. That'd be awesome. That's a really something. It sounds like an incredibly spec guitar, and I can't wait to hear it. That'd be absolutely awesome. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's going to be a good one.
All right, let's give our guests a little breather for a second. Let's go over to the viewers' comments. Today's viewers' comment comes from Philip. Hi, Philip. Thank you so much for sending this in. I really appreciate it. Look what we have here. We have several very nice guitars. I'll just tell you what they are because he's kindly labeled them in a very cool way. And then I'll ask Maury's and Spoon's opinions on these particular guitars. From the right, we have a 2016 HD28. Then we have, next on the left there, we have a 2015 D28. So there you go. You've got your scalloped and your non-scalloped. And then next to that, we have a 2011 D35, a 2015 D15M, and a 2019 J40. That's a very nice collection. I noticed they're all kind of dread size, jumbo size. Obviously, Philip likes the larger bodies there. What do you think of that guitar collection, Spoon Phillips?
Well, congratulations. It's enviable. I like the fact that you have the different neck shapes. You have the low profile and you have the modified low oval. Some people like to go back and forth. Some people only want one or the other. So you have one jumbo and a bunch of dreads, but you have mahogany top dread. You have straight brace D35, 1/4 inch bracing, straight brace D28 with 5/16 inch bracing, scalloped forward shifted braced HD28. So I would just ask him. Obviously, you can hear the difference in bracing, but you can see how it's possible to like more than one sound. So,
yeah. If Philip is watching, it'd be good to know the reasons behind the choices, because that's something I want to talk about later on, about body shapes and different models. And that is a very good. What was the word you used, Spoon? That was awesome. Enviable collection. I like that a lot. That was really cool. That's a good way to sum it up. Now, this is not.
So, Maury, he doesn't. I noticed, Maury, he doesn't yet be 18.
Ah. Yeah, there's no OMs there.
So we have to work on him on that for that.
That will lead me to a question later on. But I was really hoping today that the viewer's comment would reflect you know what I'm going to say. Basically going to reflect this.
I smell a promotion.
Yes. So, and this will lead me into the next question. This is not a setup. He actually then sent me this picture immediately after this morning. This is, I'm honestly, this is not rigged or anything. Look what he sent me. Absolutely fantastic. Sandhole sniffer shirt with the obligatory sniff as well. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And there he is. So, Philip, thank you for your business. Really do appreciate it. So that will bring
Actually, I'm sorry to interrupt, Aaron, but you made me think. I just went back and checked my Facebook messages, which I like to do, and see how many weeks ago somebody sent me something through our business page. I don't check that often enough. Philip was nice enough to send me a link to his music. I just caught on to it about an hour ago before the show. And so I'm going to listen to that and give you guys a full report, but I'm looking forward to listening to Philip.
Me too. Me too. He sent me the first mail a while ago because I'm doing the email in order. That was the next one to do, so that was awesome. Great coincidence. Then he sent me the picture when he received the shirt, and he sent me a link to his music. So that's awesome. So if you're watching and you want to be on the channel on these Monday shows, just send your picture. First of all, grab yourself a mug or a shirt or a sticker from the address on the screen. It's teespring.com/stores/Aaron Short Music. And then what I want you to do is to take a picture and send it over like Philip did to my email. And I'll put the email address up on the screen as well. It's right here. It's sayhi@aaronshortmusic.com. So keep them coming. I've got a few more weeks covered, but I want to have plenty of stuff for the future. So every week I can show someone's guitars. And if you want to send a picture with a shirt, that's even better. That brings me to a fantastic question. Okay, thanks again for sending that in, Philip. Really appreciate it. Here's a question leading on from that, which is my personal question. Why do the guitars smell so good? Spoon Phillips.
Well, I hate to burst people's mystery bubbles, but the kerfing that lines the sides that the top and the back sit on are made from Spanish aromatic cedar, which is one of the most wonderful smelling woods. And last, anybody's got a cedar chest that their great grandmother used to have or whatever, you can just scratch the wood a little bit and it still has that marvelous cedar smell. But it's not just the cedar. The cedar is the particularly brand new guitar. It's the cedar that really hits you. But all of those tone wood smells in some way. The rough edges of the bracing allow the spruce smell, and each species of spruce smells slightly different. Brazilian rosewood smells like black pepper, to a very strong black pepper. Indian rosewood has a much more rosy rosewood oil kind of smell. Brazilian rosewood, Madagascar rosewood, all the rosewoods have that rose oil smell, but Brazilian's very black peppery. Mahogany is very wood spicy, almost like sandalwood with pepper. Each one has their own unique smell. My guitar is made out of Guatemalan rosewood, and it's more of that sort of fruity rosewood oil smell, but not as strong as Indian, and not as, I wish it smelled more like Brazilian. But to me, Brazilian smells very much literally like somebody's been pouring black pepper into the guitar. So it's the combination of the cedar that's then, supported by the other smells.
One more question from me, then I'll move back to the chat questions. Do you sniff your guitars, Spoon Phillips? The internet needs to know.
Yeah, I just explaining my. I don't remember doing it all the time. When this guitar is brand new. But yes, of course, there's a wonderful aromatherapy, dopamine that goes into the brain when you smell the inside of a great guitar. However, my guitar is made with hot hide glue, and hot hide glue is an acquired smell. Put it that way. A little stinky when it's brand new. Fortunately, Martin's really. The craftsmanship in Martin is really good, so they're not slopping it all over the place like some of the small shop builders. Some small shop guitars get really stinky if they make them with hide glue.
If we're still doing the show April 1st, 2021, that episode that week will just be Maury sniffing every guitar in the shop. It'll just be that.
It's probably not a story for on camera, but Aaron, when I got my sound hole sniffer shirt, and Spoon would know. He's been a guest in my humble home. On the way to the laundry room, there's the cat's litter boxes are there, and I don't want to infringe on Aaron's idea, so I'm going to come out maybe on April 1st, and I'm going to come out with the litter box sniffer shirt.
Oh.
And Aaron said he doesn't think the idea is that good, but I have to wonder what Spoon thinks, because Spoon has cats.
Yes, I have. Well, I have a cat now, and but of course, the sweetheart that she is, her litter box smells like roses. So,
I want that cat. We have two cats, so we all have cats. Awesome.
I bet.
Yeah. Well, the truth is, Maury, I'd probably sell more shirts with cats on them than I would with guitars on them. So maybe that's not such a bad idea. All right. Hi, Marco. How you doing? Great question here from Marco Godso. Which neck from Martin is the most suitable for smaller hands? And I'll start with Maury Rutch, the Martin dealer. Which neck would you say from Martin is the most suitable for smaller hands?
I will say hi, Marco, and I will answer that with an asterisk after this. I suspect it's probably the Modern Deluxe or the low profile, but asterisk, you might be surprised how many people come in, or before the world changed anyway, came into the shop with that question and fell in love with necks that had no rhyme or reason. It wasn't even to say the opposite was true, where they like the big V-neck or 1 7/8. It's just such a random thing. I've been in business since 2003. I've been playing guitar since the mid 80s. And I sort of think the longer I'm into this, the more I'm going to know about, what's going to fit a certain person. And there are just so many exceptions. It's a suspicion that the Modern Deluxe would be, because it's very, very slender, but I've seen too much evidence to the contrary where I just don't know.
What do you think, Spoon?
Well, I would say if it is the Modern Deluxe, it's going to be the short scale. I think short scale definitely makes a difference in terms of overall playing comfort. But it is a very personal thing. It's not just the size of your hand, it's the length of the specific digits between your knuckles. Stuff like that can matter of how a neck feels. One of the most comfortable necks I've ever played is the neck on the Eric Clapton models, which is actually a modified V-neck. But it's a short scale V-neck, except for the couple special OMs they actually made with his name on them. And the combination of that neck shape and the short scale makes them very comfortable. So I would say, I would point you to, I love the Modern Deluxe neck. That special skew, the way that it's skewed, so the apex of the neck actually travels off center. So it fits your hand. I can't get my hand in the camera. Where's the camera? There it is. Fits your hand as it turns, and that feels really comfortable. Sometimes the modified low oval neck is more comfortable than the low profile for some people because of how it cups your hand and your fingers come around. Other people like the low profile because it flattens your hand out more. So it really depends. So I would say in terms of the basic standard professional level Martins, and from the 15s on up, I would say look to a short scale double O or triple O, because also the size of the body. A triple knot brings your hand a little closer to your body, so you're not stretched out as far, and your wrist is at a different angle, so that can translate into more comfortable too. So if small hands is a major concern, I'd say look at the 0018, 0028. If we could go to shops, if we could go to Maury's shop, those would probably be the first things I would have you look at.
That's interesting. I don't have that issue because I have huge hands.
Long fingers. Look how long the thumbs are.
Receiver.
Piano player hands.
Again, it's not just big hands. Bob Dylan does not have large hands. I haven't shook his hand, but my sister shook his hand. She was surprised how small his hands are. He's got long thumbs. You can see it when he's playing. You can see how high the thumb sticks up over it. So he can thumb fret very easily. So sometimes the length of the finger is more than the girth. If you look at like Hendrix, who played a bar chord with his thumb, still played the guitar. Steve Stills uses his thumb to play the G and A string when he's making a normal C chord. And Kotke's hands are so long that he's playing his thumb bass note by the fingerboard, and he's still picking the treble strings at the other side of the sound hole by the bridge. When I realized these guys were all mutants, it didn't make me feel so bad, that I can't play what they play. But actually, somebody like Aaron, Aaron's a mutant, but his hands at least don't look alien like some of those people.
Can I ask a tangential question for now that Spoon's brought this up? Spoon, I have a question for you on the same subject. Have you ever sat down with a guitar and found that the neck is extremely comfortable at the nut, but another guitar is more comfortable past the 7th fret?
Yeah, I think that's true. I returned back to deal with 11/16 inch low profiles because when I was playing with Paul Jr. in his swing trio stuff, doing Django Reinhardt kind of stuff, I really wanted that neck to be as skinny and as short as possible. But I think if I get another guitar, I'm going to go with the 111 3/4 inch width, but I'm probably still going to go with the low profile because as I go up the frets, because of my old football injuries, modified low oval actually kind of bites in on some sore spots when I'm in the upper fret. So yeah, Paul Simon, when he had his first signature model done, the neck on that guitar is an OM with a 111/16 inch neck, but it's actually an amalgamation of like 3 or 4 different necks that he said, I like this guitar here, and I like my guitar that I have here. Yeah. And Martin actually created a neck that was based off of his multiple necks. We all can't do that, unfortunately. Martin won't do that for people like you and I. But so I would say in that case, where do you do most of your playing? And how much do you like the sound? If you really like the sound, an uncomfortable neck, you might still love the guitar anyway. You'll just suffer for your art.
Yeah, this is a really important question, isn't it? The neck of the guitar has to be comfortable for the player. This is a big topic, and again, I'm thinking of spin-off questions here from this question. So thank you for this question. It's awesome, and I think this is an important area to briefly discuss. In my experience, I tried before they reimagined the OM42, that neck got really wide up at the 12th fret. I didn't find that easy to play at all, and the V-necks are not really to my liking. They're just too big for me. I really like the reimagined series, like your standard necks on the HG28, as I always say, and I really like the neck on the OMJM as well. I mean, it feels great to me. So what are your personal thoughts on V-necks and those big, wide, chunky necks? Do you think it affects the tone? And do you personally enjoy them, or would you rather go for a different neck? I'll put that to
if somebody
Spoon.
wanted to give me a 1933 or 1934 long scale triple O 28 when they had just changed the name from the OM, but they were identical to the 1933s. They have really big necks. And by the time you get into 35 is when you get into the baseball bat necks. Really lots of wood between the shape and the fretboard. Somebody wanted to give me one of those for free, I would put up suffering through that giant neck because they sound so good. Yes, I believe that the more mass to the neck, it is going to affect tone. Whether it's how it affects tone, I think you get more energy being injected through the traditional dovetail neck joint. But we're still, very well, we're still talking about very small percentages of change in tone when you're talking about little things like that. Changing the bridge pins is going to change the tone. You like it better or not? Most people, it's still going to be the guitar. It's just going to change it some. One thing I'd like to point out is Martin has never made a guitar with the low profile and the high performance taper. You were talking about the old OM42, the low profile with the traditional 1 3/4 inch neck or the wider necks gets wide up in the upper frets. That's what I've had and since sold some custom OMs that had the low profile, basically the neck on the OM42. And yeah, they were still low, but it was wide. And I would love to see them try the low profile with the high performance taper that has the narrower width when you get up to the 12th fret. So that'll probably, if I ever do another custom order, that's probably what will be on it.
I presume in the future, the necks will go in the small direction, right? For younger players. Do you think? Do you ever think, Maury? Do you think they might ever go back to the bigger necks again, or what do you think? What do you think the trends are going to be in the future?
I think you found the right word, trend. I think you're going to see everything that goes away comes back, and whatever was the flavor of the month or the year, whatever's gone, it's going to be a cycle. I'm not sure when and the timing of it, but in anything that it seemed like maybe 10 years ago, everybody was complaining how Martin doesn't make enough 1 3/4 inch guitars. Now it seems like everything they do except one is 1 3/4, and all the people that are upset about it came out to tell them. So I think, the manufacturers are going to chase the trend. I don't pretend to know when it's coming or what it's going to turn to, but I doubt that anything that's unpopular will stay unpopular, because it's ripe for enough people to get the pitchforks out. And why don't you so many people that I see say aren't even shopping. It's funny how, like, I can't believe they don't make this guitar anymore. Well, would you like one? No, I just can't believe they don't do it. So I think I'm not sure how many people in R&D at Martin listen to any of that, but I know Martin in general watches it. So it's interesting.
Well, they do pay attention to what guitars sell, and things stay in the catalog that sell. Yeah. The Johnny Cash model, 1 3/4 low, 1 11/16 low profile neck, Engelmann top. It's an expensive guitar as guitars go, compared to fact, Chris Martin said not that long ago, 50% of the acoustic guitars sold in the world cost less than $500. So D35 Johnny Cash is an expensive item. They keep it in the catalog because people buy them and people like them. And but Martin has always been slow, much slower when Chris's granddad was in charge of the company. And now Chris is 65, and so he treaded the line between modernity and legacy and heritage. The fact is, most people out there are used to electric guitars and electric guitar necks. And Martin was very late in moving to the high performance taper, which Collings and Husson-Dalton and Olson and Taylor and everybody had been doing before Martin finally got to it. And I personally was really surprised when he pulled the trigger on changing the entire line. But clearly, it's what most people like. Yeah. Tim went with the modified low oval that you have on your Mayor and stuff. That was one of the early models that actually got that neck shape. He went with that instead of the performing artist taper that they first came out with the high performance taper, because he wanted a neck that felt like you're playing an acoustic guitar. And he felt that the high performance neck didn't feel like a Martin neck in his estimation. And so that's why they went with that. And so ironically, Taylor got into the business by being the first people to put an electric guitar neck on an acoustic guitar to appeal to electric guitarists. And then they got away from that and have gone with thicker necks, and necks that started heading more toward Martin shape. And so they're almost like getting ready to cross each other now in terms of where that is. We're still going to see V-necks will still come back. Right now they want everybody to buy the Modern Deluxe series, because that combines modern futuristic stuff and vintage stuff. I wish they'd put that neck on I wish that was the standard series neck. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to disagree. It's not my favorite neck. I see. I have to be careful with these thoughts, because I always think to myself, I played the retros and the reimagined series so much that I'm so used to them that other necks are never going to compare for me. But there's something about the Modern Deluxe neck. I mean, it's easy to play. It's not that I don't like it. I just think, and maybe because I'm used to the standard series, but I just really like the neck on the standard series and the OMJM. I just really, really like them. And my personal preference would not be to move everything to the Modern Deluxe neck.
And I think you are in the majority. I mean, I like necks with 1930 OMs, and that's where they got that shape from. It has less wood between the back of the neck and the fretboard than a real 1930 or a 1930 neck, but and it's not nearly as fat up at the heel because the heel's got a modern heel. But the feel of it is, my hands really like it. But you are definitely Martin has saw the writing on the wall that the modern, what is now their high performance neck, is what sells the most guitars. And so whether they come back with a vintage series or a golden era series or whatever they want to call it, that's got big fat V-necks for the big fat V-neck lovers. What they really should do is allow you to order your custom guitar with whatever neck you want without charging you a premium for changing the neck shape. Then people who like those big old vintage necks would be ordering a lot more. I'm not saying don't charge a custom shop fee, but don't charge for changing the neck shape, because they would probably get a lot more custom shop orders if they did that, in my opinion.
Cool. It's a very personal thing, isn't it? It's a very, very personal choice, and you have to try a bunch of them. But there's so many variations, there's so many different guitars out there that I hope we can help people make some sort of decision. But yeah, I mean, that's my preference, and maybe again, because that's what I'm used to playing. My Rain Song has a pretty big neck. A lot of people say Rain Song necks are too big. I have adjusted to it. You can adjust to things. I think you've got to give these things time, because you get used to what you're used to. But yeah, it's a very personal decision. What were you going to say, Maury?
To Spoon's point, I remember a couple of people at Martin telling me that high performance taper, the neck that's on all that reimagined standard series stuff, was by far the most requested neck in the custom shop. So Martin's watching, dealers like myself and end users ask for customs, and by a large majority, when a customer could get any neck they wanted that neck, and that made them think, well, if in the custom shop they get whatever they want, and everybody wants that should become the new neck. So that's got something to do with it.
Yes, we talk about 1 3/4 inch necks. Everything's 1 3/4, but it's not the old 1 3/4. So it actually has the shape of the real taper is from the old 1/11/16 inch, and then starting about the 4th fret, it just gets a little wider. So down in what I call the cowboy chord area, it's that 1 3/4, and that's what the whole industry did. So you get more room down there, but it still stays sleek up the neck, and for playing lead guitar stuff and bar chords. And that's, I'm surprised it took them this long, but I'm also surprised Chris moved the entire line to it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, not a question, but a very, very important comment that I must put on the screen. This is from Jeannie. Hi, Jeannie. Says, Aaron has a nice voice. Very important. Thank you.
That's very subjective.
Jack Wickwire. All the streams. We had some little glitches earlier on. Thanks for sticking with us. I appreciate it. We're running 3 live streams today. 3 streams into the video. Awesome. And then Sean said, I finally made it in live for what will surely be the best episode yet. But Sean, Maury's not playing the guitar today.
Maybe there's something to that.
Referencing what we said earlier, Kooky said, I used to wait the whole day next to the radio just to tape one song. Those were the days when we valued things, right? We sat by the radio, we taped our favorite song, and we got it. So then we valued it and we played it over and over and over again. And then streaming came along, and you have access to every song ever written anytime on your watch. And personally, I listen less.
Those days, but
God, you're not old enough to know this part.
I do remember hating it when they said, and coming up, and then you still had to wait 19 songs to get to the song.
Yeah. That's a tease.
Kookie's got interesting questions today. Maury, did you ever sell a guitar? Oh, no, I get it. Did you ever sell a guitar to one of your hero musicians? Have you ever sold a guitar to a famous celebrity from your store?
Both of these guys. I've sold a guitar to Spoon and to Aaron, so yes.
Famous
good answer.
in our own living room.
but famouser than that, The closest I ever came to doing that, it's sort of a funny story. If I could laugh at myself, Spoon brought up "Animals" by Pink Floyd a while ago. Well, long after the Roger Waters Pink Floyd, or Aaron and Spoon, do you guys know John Caron, the keyboard player for Roger Waters?
Yeah.
This touring studio musician who's not in Pink Floyd and he's not in Roger Waters' band, but he's on the touring band. He tried to order bridge pins maybe 10 years ago and wanted to ship them to a different address. And I got in an email and told him, I'm sorry, we have to make sure we take all the security we can, and we want to make sure we don't, take your money and give the product to someone else. And got into a little bit of an email argument with him where he got mad at me for being a little bit too strict. But that's the closest I ever came to any kind of transaction with the famous person that I know of. Andrew may have sold a bunch of stuff to, maybe somebody he listens to a lot. But no, I really can't say that I have. And it's kind of a bummer because every day I kind of think it might happen.
Though I've been led to understand that some of these guys don't buy under their own name. And Dylan supposedly is famous for that. His people buy it and nobody knows it's actually Bob Dylan buying it because they know that person will immediately run out and say, Bob Dylan plays our product or whatever. So,
yeah. Who's Bob Dylan?
He's this guy who has a radio show, I guess, on what's that? Satellite radio? I don't get it.
I have a great question right here. Check this out. I'm torn between this is a really loaded question. Torn between the HD28 and D41. I prefer the aesthetics of the HD28, but to me the D41 often sounds better in comparison videos. Is it all in my head? The specs are identical, or is the upgrade real? Spoon Phillips.
Well, let's have Maury go first because my answer is going to be longer.
I was going to bring popcorn for when that kind of thing came up because I was just going to sit back and let Spoon do the hard work. I'll tell you the truth. I've gone full circle from long ago thinking that abalone pearl has nothing to do with sound, and an HD28 and a D41 and now a D42, they're all the same thing. It's just looks. I've come from that point of view really slowly, and a lot of it's happened in the last 2 or 3 years, looking into the subject more, deeply, surrounding myself with guys like Spoon, Martin's Tim Teal, and then listening to good interviews where pretty recently Aaron had Dick Boak on the program. Everything about the guitar does make a difference, and I'm going to step on Spoon's toes a little bit and let him elaborate when it gets to his turn. I do think, hearing it from Spoon, that what happens on a guitar's construction that allows you to place abalone in that channel no longer is just a cosmetic thing. And my short answer is, yeah, I think for the most part, most of a D41 is an HD28, but they are not exactly the same. And I'm really curious to hear Spoon's, current take on that, because you're part of the reason, Spoon, that I feel that way.
Well, it was, until recently, the D41 was not non-forward shifted bracing, what used to be the standard bracing. And when they first came out, they were non-scallop bracing. And there are people who like all three varieties of the D41, one better than the other. So the D42 used to only be the forward shifted Pearly Dreadnought. And then the D45 went forward shifted, and the D41 went forward shifted. So before we talk about the abalone wood grade, they say it's purely cosmetic. Martin says it's only cosmetic, it's cosmetic, it's cosmetic. So you're talking about less run out, more perfectly straight grain, what they look for, no blemishes. Dana Bourgeois would tell you that Hazel Cliff, or whatever the actual word is for bear claw, it can be a sign of a stiffer top. Other people don't think it's unless you're talking about bear claw all over the thing, it probably doesn't mean very much. Could straighter grain, less run out, all that stuff, could that translate into the physical energy that's passing through the wood, having a different effect at the other end when it comes out of the sound hole? And I think anybody who knows of this kind of stuff says, yes, it could. Does it matter that much? Don't know. But I agree with you that the HD28 and the D41 are similar. They sound more similar than they would compared to a 00018. But to me, they are consistently different. And I used to say the D41s pre-forward shifted were very sunny sounding guitars. There's something very cheerful and chimey about them. So now here comes the story. Years and years ago, I started haunting the guitar stores looking for my first Martin. And I luckily could go to Mandolin Brothers and sit there all day long, where they would say, go ahead. If you want to play that $200,000 D'Angelo, go right ahead. Because they knew that suddenly that $6,000 Martin wasn't that much money compared to that $200,000 D'Angelo. And I wanted to like D45s because of the legacy, because of Crosby, Nash and Young, and I wanted to like the D42, and I wanted to like the D41 because of George Jones and Dan Fogelberg. And I always liked the sound of the D28s and the HD28s and the HD28Vs better. And I did this shop after shop, and I started to ask myself, what is it? Because when I would go on the guitar forums and get crucified for suggesting this, that it's all in your mind, I wasn't seeing them saying, well, that D45 sounds better because it's a D45. I was being fooled by all the fancy bling. I actually liked the sound of the D28 better. There had a darkness and a simplified, woody sound, and I kept hearing stuff in the 40s that sounded what I call jangly. There was a jangle to the sweep of the chord that came off the metallic strings, particularly up in the high end. And then as the years went by, I began to realize that jangle was a subconsciously negative sounding word. So I've changed it to shimmer. Excuse me, there is a shimmer involved in these guitars in the high end that I don't hear as much. I'm not saying it's not present in the 28s and 35s, but not to the same degree. So I would get crucified for this until some real luthier started showing up in my defense. And then I was sitting in a garret attic office of a journalist with T.J. Thompson, who is the living premier vintage Martin restorer, and Wayne Henderson, and first time they ever met. And they were talking about how they got the purfling out of vintage D45s to repair them and get them back in safely. And I started talking about my theory, and they both would not commit to why, but they both said they felt 45s and 42s and 40s in the old days before 41s, vintage days, sound different. So I'll try to get out of this in a hurry by saying, if you go down to if you look at it, you're talking about putting a trench in, like Maury said, around the edge of the top that thins out the diaphragm, the drum head of the top, right where it connects to and transfers the sound to the sides, and the sides to the back if you're talking about a 45 or any kind of purfling. It doesn't have to be pearl. And so here you have that trench, and then you fill it in with something that is only as thin as your fingernail, maybe. But when you go down to the level to where things get really big down there, herringbone is basically a sidewalk of little pieces of wood, and with cracks all the way around it. So it's not solid pieces of wood touching each other. The long black and white domino, or the Jazz Age Art Deco purfling that Martin used for years, that's just the black and white lines, big long lines. And that energy has to pass through that cascade of lines. And then you put in, but when it comes to abalone is one of the freakiest substances known to nature. That is layers and layers of minerals and crystals that are glued together with this stuff that the mollusk secretes. And it is so hard and so dense, and the refraction that goes, the energy refraction, I know it's not the exact word, but when energy is passing through it, what happened, the absorption of it in abalone defies physics. And to the point that all of the modern day bulletproof armor that's made was actually inspired by the molecular matrix of abalone shell. So it's an extremely dense pieces of rock that go in there. And when that stuff, just like going through a bridge plate, what the bridge plate is made out of, whether it's ebony or rosewood. All you have to do is play an M36 that was made with an ebony bridge, and you could hear the difference between a rosewood bridge and ebony bridge. Size of the bridge plate, what's the bridge plate made out of, what the bracing's made out of, the shape of the bracing that sends all that energy. But when it hits that, when it tries to get from the top to the sides, and in a D45, you have all of these trenches all around it, you get a much more resonant body, but you also get that the energy passing through the abalone. The abalone may not do anything. It might be, and some professional luthiers have said this, the trench that you cut for abalone is of a different size and shape than you would cut for herringbone or cut for the other purfling. So it's a bigger trench, and that might be all there is to it. But I'm thoroughly convinced that in a subtle way, abalone purfling definitely matters. Wood grading may matter in terms of the specific soundboard that you're getting. What's important to me is if you really, you have to decide, do I want a herringbone 28, or do I want the sound of that D41? And I think when it comes down to it, you have to make that choice.
Interesting.
My thoughts.
I don't know how long that was. I kind of got lost, but
no, it's great info. Oh, I'm echoing. Let me. My thoughts on that are that. Hang on, let me just mute this one. Oh, yeah. My thoughts on that are that Martin confused it when they did the Reimagined series. They confused things slightly because they did make the HD28 very similar to the D42, for example. The difference is in the looks, and if you do the factory tour, they'll tell you there's a load of time and skill that goes into the looks of the guitars. So it's fair enough that they cost more money, but to the customer, they're thinking, okay, A, do I like the look of the 40 series over the 28 series? That's the first question. Some people say they're too fanciful. And then the next thing is, do they sound different? And all I can say is that I have been to a guitar store where, for example, the 42 to me did sound better than the 28, but the 45 didn't reflect that. I actually didn't like the sound of the 45. Now, here's the thing though. Could that be setup, age of strings, how many people have played that guitar? Could it also be, and this is a question for Spoon, could it also be that the guitars, wood, it's so hard to narrow this down with wood. We're not talking about carbon fiber where we can say everything's identical, everything's the same. We're talking about wood. Wood is different. So is it possible, Spoon, that a 42 could have a higher grade of wood visually, and a higher grade of wood in Martin's opinion, but actually the wood they used on the 28 sounds, again, for lack of a better word, better? Is that possible, do you think?
well, you were the one that used better here when you said the 42 sounded better, but it even sounded better than the 45. So that was your personal opinion of what it is you like, whether it was the bass response, whether it was the high-end shimmer, whatever, the tonal qualities of that. The soundboard is clearly, everybody will say this, the soundboard is the most important thing in terms of how great a guitar is going to sound and how it's going to sound in the future and all that. So it's possible that 42 got a really great top. I mean, and it's possible you can get 21s that have 18 level wood. So it has lower level wood than a 28 in terms of the cosmetic visual aspect of it. And it doesn't have any purfling at all. So there is no thinning to that top at all where it glues onto the edge on a 21. And a modern 21, the old 21s had it. So sure, yes, it's entirely possible. In the old days, the 42 would have been forward shifted, the 45 wouldn't, and I would have said that could have been enough to say what happened to that guitar that made you find it better. I know from the fact, though, that I've been in guitar stores where the one that I liked better, nobody else liked better. And, and I have played Martins on a wall, and I said, boy, that's the good one. And somebody came in and that same day while I was there bought the other one. Yeah. So, it is a matter of taste. There's definitely a wood grading difference. Nowadays, there's only officially 2 grades, but internally I know they still think in terms of a 42 and a 45 get the same, but the 45 will always get stuff that they say that's definitely 45, and a 41 and a 28, 41 and a 28 and a 40 used to get the same woods. I'm not sure if a 41 may get the same grade as a 28 now. I don't know. The person pulling from the stack saying this is going to be a D41, well, then I'll go with this one, not this one, but they may actually get the same grade now. I don't know. I'd have to check.
It's such a loaded question. That's such a difficult question. And my thought right now is that they're so similar. Like I said when I started, go with the looks. Do you like the look of the 40 series? Look at them visually, and also bear in mind the cost differences. And then if only we had a place where a dealer could play the actual guitar over the video with a high quality microphone so we could actually hear that particular guitar, then that would really help this process, wouldn't it? Do you know of anyone that does that, Maury Rutch?
You just answered your own question. Yes, sir.
Oh, excellent.
And I'd like to piggyback off of Spoon's, and thank you for all the softballs, Aaron. That's all good stuff. Spoon brought up a good point. Somebody's looking at that pile, and this is definitely a 45. First thing to notice, it's a person. It's not a robot. It's not an exact science. It's an inexact science. And the second thing is that pile has that you can pick from that pile today. Next Monday, 2 Fridays from now, it's a new pile. So you could certainly say the best looking piece of wood on November 30th is slightly uglier than the best looking piece of wood middle of December. It's a moving thing. So you can't say that the best looking top Martin looks at today is the best looking top ever. It's the best looking top on that pile. So it moves slightly.
But even that's a matter of personal taste of somebody who's looking at it once the guitar is made too. So some people like character. Some people don't want to see any flaw at all. I like seeing natural anomalies in the top because it makes it unique.
Aaron, do you think that's possible? Some people don't like to see any flaw at all.
Are you talking about me? This really is why I started the YouTube channel, because I got on the Martin train and I was looking for the best sounding Martin. I also plug in most of the time. All my guitars until Martin were plug-in guitars, or stage guitars, because that's all I really do. I rarely sit at home and play unplugged. So then I love the whole Martin history, the fact they're close by, the sound of them acoustically compared to my other guitars. But then it got me on that pickup thing, and then that brought another thing into the equation of, does the pickup affect the tone, blah, 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 blah. And I just got completely sucked into that world. And that's really why I made this channel, so I can discuss it and make the videos and do the comparisons. I'm not quite as hot on the pickup affecting all that stuff so much now, because I've covered it so much. But questions like this, I'm still trying to find the answer. And I feel like if I was Maury, I'd be just playing every guitar back to back and recording them, because I want to know. And someone just said, Dennis just asked us a similar question. How much variation is there between different guitars from the same model and age? And it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? If you play 10 HD28s, is the difference, I assume slight differences in action and age of strings can make a difference to start with. But then how much variation is there actually in the tone? Like, how important is it to hear that guitar in person before you actually buy it? With wooden guitars, this is the golden question, isn't it? Because they're wood, and how much variation is there in each model? Spoon has demoed so many guitars for Maury's music. Have you got any thoughts on that, about the variation in different models?
I would say that once upon a time, and not that long ago, they would typically finish 2 prototypes, and one of them would go to the show in California, and one of them would end up in my hands in the factory for when I make my videos every January. And they used to send what they thought was the best sounding guitar to the show. They don't do that anymore. The people who do it run the stuff now. Doesn't even occur to them. For one thing, when you're at NAMM, you can't hear anything anyway, because it's a trade show. So you're not going to hear the subtle nuances or whatever. You can go into, if Maury's got 3 HD28s, and he's going to bring them out for you to pick the one, if he's going to let you do that, to pick the one that you want, and you're going to sit there with your significant other and play it for her, and she's going to play it for you, even if she could only strum a D chord and and you're going to sit there and try to figure out, you will fall down that rabbit hole, and you're going to start to notice every little thing, the thump when your thumb Neil Young, the picky strummy Chris Christopherson stuff, whatever it is you do. And you played those 3 guitars, and if 6 other fellas with 6 other significant others came in over the next 6 days, I would bet every one of those 3 guitars is going to be the winner to somebody. And that if you had to do it without looking, and you couldn't remember this, if you couldn't remember the serial numbers and you went back 2 weeks later, you might pick a different one because they are that consistent. But at other times, there are times you take 2 and I like the bottom end on that one. I like the harmonics on this one. They feel the same thing, but this is the one that sings to me. And I have a fellow who's agonizing. Someday he's going to buy a Martin, and what he's agonizing over right now is, but which Martin is going to sound best with my singing voice? How's that for a personal decision you have to make?
Yeah.
How do you make that? My advice is you get your significant other out in front of it and let her make that choice, because you don't even know what your own voice sounds like out in a room. So how are you supposed to know,
Yeah.
So I tell people which one inspires you. Which one is the one that makes you want to play the music? Which one is the one that really makes you say, gosh, I could play this thing for 3 hours and not want to put it down, and stop looking at the why so much as which one does it for you.
I agree. I've had those guitars where I just played them and they just ticked all the boxes, and there was just didn't have to think about it. It was just easy, I think they're the ones. It's just hard right now because we are all at home, and we can't just go to Maury's Music, or we can't, wherever you are in the world, you can't just go to your dealer and play a bunch of guitars. So it's great that Maury's going live with the new models and showing them off, and we're talking about them and all this stuff. But there's nothing like, I always say this every week, Maury, don't I? There's nothing like when you actually get the guitar and you strum it and you look at it and you sniff it and all these things. That is when the magic happens. That's how I felt like with the OMJM. I like how it looks. I'm not a huge thing about the whole signature on there of John Mayer. It's not my signature, but I just love I think this should be on all the OMs, Spoon, personally. This rosette around the sound hole. I love that. I just love how it looks. It makes me want to play it. So all these things. Oh, it does smell. Oh, it smells so good.
Well, Darren, you were the one who mentioned getting used to necks. People are so worried about, am I really going to like it? Is it going to be warm enough? Is it going to be too bright? Is it going to be bright enough? And they will mail order, and if they mail order a guitar, there's going to be certain people who are afraid they're not going to like it. And they're going to get that guitar and they're going to say, I don't know if I like this. I'm glad I got it, but an hour later, they're like, oh, wow, this is, I'm guilty of new and different is invariably negative when I first encounter it. I don't care if it's a new kind of hot pepper. But then it's like, well, wait a second. What it wasn't what I was used to. Yeah. So what does it have? And then you start to get sucked in, and then you're like, wow, yes, then I really like this. And it's different if somebody gets it and I can't play this neck. It really hurts my hand. That's different than I know people who said they didn't like the neck they got, but they got used to it and they actually don't even think about it anymore. And other people, when I first got this, it was a little too bright. And frankly, bone saddles, brand new bone saddles, add some shrillness on the high end. That burns off very quickly, and then you just get that glassy purity off the high ends of Martins that they make your heart sing.
Yeah. I say that every week. Be careful when you compare two things. I did that for a long time. I would get a new guitar and compare it to the other one, and even that time switching between the two of them, I would drive myself crazy. I do think it's good to record a guitar, like in Logic with a decent microphone. I've been using the Slate ML2. It's really affordable. Sounds great. I think it actually sounds as good as the Neumann I have. It sounds amazing. And record it and listen back and actually, listen to that recording. And all these different things. But when you compare stuff, as with anything in life, it's very dangerous because you get used to what you're used to. and then you compare it, and personally, I'm always a little bit let down if it's so different to the one I'm comparing it to, and it happens to me all the time. I mean, even the OMJM, when I first got it, I loved how it looked. I liked the sound, but I think I actually prefer the sound of it now to when I first got it. And I was actually going to ask you the question about do guitars open up and all this kind of stuff, but I think even in the first few weeks, a guitar can kind of change. Maybe that's the action moving a bit. The top probably moves a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of all these mystical, wonderful things. What are your thoughts, Spoon, on guitars over the years? Do you think the phrase opening up is a real thing?
A professional level Martin with a sit guitar is going to take about 15 months before you really say, wow, this is all of a sudden starting to sound really good. Adirondack takes about twice as long. But yeah, they will start changing. You can go. I went into back in the heyday of Mandolin Brothers. Went in. There was a 1990s OM28, the old flat, wide-necked OM28 with the black pick guard, had dust on it. It had not been played in so long. It was the last one at the very top of the wall, and it sounded dead as a doornail. I played it for about half an hour, and it woke up. And somebody bought it that day. It left the store. And Sitka really can get sleepy. And I think European spruce can get sleepy. And it takes a little while to like wake up again. You have to kind of play it. How much of that is your ear adjusting to the harmonics? And maybe you're picking up things that were always there that you didn't notice because you were focusing on other stuff. And that's also a possibility. But yeah, they definitely, as the word, as you play them, the glues settle, that's the top gets going, the top is reflecting off of the back and side woods. Take that guitar to North Carolina, you talk about humidity, you take it down to swampy South Carolina, it will sound different. And that it'll be noticeably different. I think that's one of the reasons Martins are so popular in bluegrass, because big Martin dreadnoughts sound spectacular in really heavy humidity, to my ear anyway. But yeah, I'm a big believer. They open up, they definitely get better. Not only do they get better, your playing is teaching the top. So you are going, if Maury had the same guitar you did and you played them every day for 20 years, they would not sound the same.
I thought you were going to say your playing gets better over the years.
But
not ours.
For all of us.
Maybe other people.
Oh, Philip Watson, Maury will be hearing from me for a D18.
All right. That's what that sounds like for. Thank you, Philip.
Great sound of guitars.
And Steve's still talking about that custom order. One day we must cover custom orders on the show. So talk about custom orders. Spoon Phillips, have you ever custom ordered a Martin guitar?
Yeah, my first custom was, I put a lot of thought into it. Can you hold that thought? Can we take a short break? Because my cat's going to eat me if I don't feed her.
That's fine. I'll say what we'll do. Maury and I will do the giveaway while you take a short break, and we'll come back and pick up on that question. All right.
She's starting to want to break things, so I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll leave you on the screen, but just so you know, we can still hear you. All right.
Can he be muted from your end, Aaron?
Let me take a look here. I can mute the interview, and that will mute you, so I can mute both. No, I can't. I'm just kidding. I can mute him. Yes.
Maybe I've been muted the whole time.
Okay, I muted Spoon. Awesome. And I can also do this as well. Right here. There we go. I should have had a be right back sign on the screen. So this is awesome. This is so great. All these first of all, I want to say thanks to Spoon. Always thanks to Maury for doing this every week. It's been fantastic, especially during these trying times. But Spoon is always in the chat helping out, and I really, really, really appreciate that. And today we have him here in person. It's really great. This is such a great episode. And thank you for all your questions. I want to just say now, though, if I don't read your question out, I apologize. I don't think we'll be able to address all the questions. We might have to do another one of these in the future because we've got so many awesome questions. But I will try to address as many as we can. Now, while Spoon's away, let's do the giveaway. I think that's the perfect time to do it. And I hope you guys are ready.
That's so cool.
So they can hear us both, Maury. We're going to read out the rules today. So if you haven't played before, what you're going to do is I will put a link to Maury's Music's website in the chat. And if you haven't been there before, you should definitely check it out. I want you to click on the product URL in the chat. So you'll see that in a second when I post it. And then you need to click on the images tab. All right. When the page loads up, you still have to click on where it says images. So do bear that in mind. I want to stress that. So once you've clicked on images, on the images tab, you'll then see two pictures, and they are the same, two photos of this guitar, which are the same photograph, but there's one difference. And what you have to do is identify that one difference, come back to the chat here on YouTube and type the difference. And the first person to get it right wins a pack of 3 Martin Authentic Acoustic Strings, courtesy of Maury's Music. So thank you so much for your generosity, Maury. We really appreciate it. And yeah, I think we're going to be ready to post it in a second. So everyone get ready, because I am going to grab the link and put it in the chat. Just let me grab it from Maury and I'll put it in there. Oh, and by the way, to receive the prize and to enter, you do have to be in the USA, because Maury's going to ship to the USA. Okay, just give me 1 second. I'm going to copy and paste the link into the chat. Okay, here it comes. So 3, 2, 1, and it's there. It might take a few seconds to show up, but once it does, you can load that up and you can find what is different between the first 2 images. Let me see if I can see that. Yep, I see it on my phone. Very good. And I'm not going to enter, I'm just going to make sure the page loads up. Yeah, so you can scroll down, click on where it says guitar specs, videos, images, more info. Click on images. You're going to see 2 photos. I see them on my screen right there. What kind of guitar is that, Maury?
This is a Martin 00013E.
Have we talked about this on the show?
We have not, but it's been one of the most requested. So I do recommend you considering to maybe bring that onto the show in one of the next coming weeks. I think Marco may or may not have asked for that every single time we've been on the air. I think this is the one for Marco, so maybe we can do that sometime soon.
Okay, we have a lot of weeks to fill up, so no problem.
And I'd like to take this chance to quickly say hi to the chat and apologize if any questions have been aimed at me that were written but not read by Aaron. I thought I was going to have a chance to look at these chat questions while we all talked, and I admit I got completely sucked into the whole conversation. Every time Spoon and Aaron start talking, I'm just locked onto what they're saying, and I forgot to look. So if there was something I could have addressed along the way, I do apologize, and I'm looking forward to watching this entire replay later tonight or tomorrow. And if I could come back into the chat that happens, the comment section of this replay, if there's something I could answer there, I'd be happy to take a stab at that.
Great point, actually, Maury. Yeah, we can read back through the chat and post some replies there as well. And the other thing we can do, of course, is to invite Spoon Phillips back onto my Monday show in a little while and ask him to come on again.
Awesome.
We'll see if he wants to come back after this, Maury. All right, I'm going to come back to the main screen and I'm going to see if we've got anyone here with any answers. So let me just see here before I bring Spoon back on. Can you see the chat? Can you see if anyone's got it right, Maury? Someone says nut width, saddle width. Is that right? The saddle
Somebody
width
said saddle width?
The saddle width is different.
The saddle width is the answer.
Oh, you got it? Oh, okay.
Congratulations.
Awesome. Very good. So that is NYC LP Player. Very well done. So please send your address to Maury at maurysmusic.com. And do me a favor, if you win the prize each week, or whoever wins the prize, do send us a picture holding the prize so I can put your picture on the screen if you wouldn't mind. That would be a nice thing to do when we do the giveaway. That'd be really awesome.
Very
Okay.
cool. Thanks for playing, everybody.
Yeah, congratulations. We're back again next Monday with another giveaway. And thank you to Maury Rutch for doing that. I really appreciate your generosity. It makes it a nice, fun thing to do. So let's come back.
Welcome.
I have to ask my guest now. Let me just bring Spoon Phillips back on the screen because we can't see him right now.
Aaron, is there a chance that Spoon left and he actually created an account called NYC LP Player and he actually won?
Let's ask him right now. Maybe unmute him and we'll ask him.
Be sure to check your text. I sent you, Maury.
Spoon Phillips, are you NYC LP Player?
I am not. No, I am sorry. I didn't think to do like a Monty Python gag or something where I was like chugging a gallon of wine when you came back to me or something, but maybe next time.
MIC LP player says, thank you, Maury. All right, awesome. So let me just come back up here. I'm just going to scan through and put some things up, and I'll just see if there's any questions that I wanted to address today, because, of course, time is flying, as I kind of knew it would.
Yeah, you had asked me something, but I forgot what it was. I had asked for a...
Yes, we were just on something, weren't we?
And I don't remember what it was. Does anybody remember what we were talking about?
Surely Maury can remember, right?
Nope.
Oh, I've got so many questions here. I should just ask you, this is completely unprofessional of me. Maury and Spoon, how long have you got to go? Can we do another 15 minutes, another 30 minutes? Is that okay? Or
I'm good for the duration.
are you
I have
okay,
to be
Maury?
somewhere Friday. So
You scared me there. Okay, because I want to try and get as many. Okay, we'll try and do. We'll call this the quick fire round. Okay, we'll try and keep the answers as short as we can.
good luck.
First of all, let's find that question that we just got asked. I can't remember what it was.
Well, maybe somebody will put it in the chat in a minute if they remember.
Hang on, I'm back to that part of the thread now. Steve is still talking about that custom shop. Oh yes,
custom.
that's it. I asked you. Yes, yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that.
So I said, Spoon Phillips, have you ever ordered a custom from Martin Guitar? I know you have, because you have a artist model with Maury's music. And also in the chat, if you've ordered a custom before, do let me know what you ordered. Spoon, what do you think about ordering custom guitars? Is it dangerous to have to order something and then wait to see what comes? A bit like the question we had before about, will you like that guitar? Will you bond with that guitar? What about ordering a custom shop and then having to sit back and wait 8 months for that thing to show up? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it depends on what it is you order. You have to obviously do your research. The very first custom that I ordered was an M size, what would have been a mahogany 18 in the vintage series, except in an M size with a cutaway. And I paid Martin to make a custom neck for me. I brought them a guitar, an unusual LM28 VR that had an oddly low profile neck. And they even said how it got out of final inspection. They didn't even know, because it was the closest thing to a 1930s OM I'd ever found in a Modern Martin. So I paid a lot of money for them to make templates and copy that neck. And I ordered from Maury, except it was at around that top, quarter-inch bracing. So it was heading along the lines of I can't think of his name. A friend of mine here in New York, a signature model, was a cutaway M with quarter-inch bracing. Who am I thinking of, Maury? I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, I liked it, but I never really bonded with it. The neck did not feel exactly the same, and I ended up selling it to a guitar shop in Worthing, Southern England, for a very tidy profit, I'll have you know, because Martins are a lot more expensive over there. So then my second custom was based on the Phil Donahue, not Phil Donahue,
Maury Povich.
like Prairie Hill Companion. What was his name? God, where's my brain today?
Arsenio Hall?
The OM30 was the first Style 30 Martin made since the 20s. Pat Donahue.
Oh, yeah.
He was the band leader for the Prairie Home Companion and a national finger picking champion. So it was based on that, but I had it made in Madagascar Rosewood Style 42 instead of a 1 and 13/16 V neck. I had a regular OM42 neck, but it was a slot head, gorgeous guitar, and when my hands got, and deep body OM, so it was my wanting to have a non-dreadnought to do big dreadnought stuff with. I love that guitar. I miss it. I did sell it when it got too much for my hands, when my hands were really starting to bother me again. And so I went through all of that, and then I spent a long time thinking out the specs for what we euphemistically call the Teaspoon Phillips model that Maury had made for me, and then made some others to sell.
It's funny.
But,
I think I saw that model when I was shopping for a guitar last year, and I think Maury suggested it to me because I was looking for. I think I was looking for a cutaway with that kind of spec, and I think doesn't it have the narrow nut? There was something about it that I was like, oh, that's
yeah, it's low profile, 1/11/16 inch low profile.
But my
So,
point,
yeah.
my point is, I dismissed it because of the narrow nut. But now what do I have? OMJM doesn't bother me at all. So that's just a little, I'm not saying it's not a thing, but it's not obviously not a thing for me. I also play more electric guitar now, so maybe that's what it is.
When you mention custom shop, you have to do your research because I put all the thought into that neck. I didn't like the neck.
Yeah.
So you're way ahead of the game if you know what standard Martin neck you like. So you're not getting any guesses there. Mine is high blue, thin finish. I'd say if you can afford it, it's worth it. If you're an acoustic guitar player and you're playing it and you're recording the microphones and stuff like that, definitely say that's worth it. So do your research on bracing. Don't jump to conclusions. Talk to people like Maury to ask them about if you're going to try to do unusual bracing from your starter model. Make sure you know what you're talking about and not guessing. So, it's not. I know almost nobody who didn't love their custom Martin guitar, and we're very, very happy with it. Usually, it's the ones that go out on the limb with I want to mix all these things together that are structural stuff that they don't really know. They're not luthiers and they don't know what it means to have bracing made out of unusual wood or unusual type of bracing for the body size and all that. You really want to make sure you know what you're doing if you're going to go that route.
I was this close to ordering custom with Maury, but then I got scared. Like I haven't played this thing. How's it going to turn out? I don't know. I've known people over the years that have put all the ideal specs into a custom shop and then got it and not liked it. So just because it's good on paper doesn't always mean it would translate well into a guitar. We haven't really talked much about the custom shop yet on the channel with Maury. I want to explore that more in the future. But of course, having to wait for that guitar to be made it's special because they made it for you, and it's also a little bit scary for me because I haven't played it yet. But maybe I'm just not being brave enough, and I should just go.
How many of those? I'd have to ask you, Aaron. How many of those people that you mentioned are the kind of people who go through a lot of guitars and often say, "I don't like
all of them." Yeah. All of them is the answer. So you're right.
There's a good point to be made there too. A lot of our customers, I would say almost maybe 75% of the time, when they custom order a guitar from us, they take a guitar they know and they change the nut width. They might change the aesthetics. They might change the decoration. Most of the time, might even be more than 3/4 of the people, they're not taking a risk on the bracing or the tone wood or the sound. They're changing something about it that's looks, or they know they like the narrow nut, so they're going to take a guitar and take that wide nut away. They're not necessarily rolling the dice on changing the bracing size or style. And when you're talking about things like that, and you love the D18, but you want a different neck, you're not going to be surprised at the tone from a D18 to a custom shop D18. You're going to be thankful you got the modification that basically made it fit you. So I think Aaron's point is much more specialized to those people who, like Spoon even said, are taking all the ingredients in a Martin and doing this to it. That could be extremely scary. But if you're taking a guitar you already know you like and you're just making it yours, it's hardly anything to be afraid of at all, really.
Yeah, I'd like to do it. I would like to do it one day, and one day I will do it. And if I do, it will be with Maury's music. 01 says, I'm terrible, aren't I? I'm now going to plug myself though. 01, look. So would you suggest to put the laundry into the sound hole of a guitar rather than a washing machine? That's another reference to sound hole sniffing right there.
Maybe after you washed it. Maybe that's after it comes out of the dryer and it's still warm. Put it in the sound hole, let it absorb that sound.
Thank you, Spoon, for your...
Martin IV has often said, so many people come up to us and said, if you could figure out a way to make a car deodorant thing that smelled like your guitars.
Well, it's funny you should say that.
Chris has $1 million, so he knows for $1 million. But actually, most of his millions of dollars are in his portions, probably. But Yeah, no, other people have said that too. Why can't you know if you could just get get the spray, get the
Yeah.
absolutely. Martin could actually sell that stuff.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I've been working on something which I'm releasing this. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, I'm going to get known for all the wrong reasons on my channel. A nice compliment for you, Spoon. Thank you, Spoon, for your reviews. You are so articulate. It always feels like I'm holding and hearing the guitar myself. Very nice.
Well, if you don't know, I just put up my latest guitar review, One Man's Guitar. It's the first one I've done since January because I can only review guitars I get in my hand. So, and it's an unusual guitar because it's not a Martin. And so, it's a friend of mine's guitar, and which was the original idea of my website, One Man's Guitar. The one man wasn't supposed to be me. I was supposed to be going into people's private homes and doing playing guitars in their collection so other people could really hear what a 1930 Martin sounded like, or hear what something from an obscure small builder sounded like. And because I became so good friends with people inside Martin, I just it accidentally turned into me going to the Martin factory twice a year, or going to, and then Maury and Lori reached out to me and said, "We like what you do so much, come do it for us." So I do it for him now too. So yeah, check it out, onemans.com.
Along those lines, you seem to really like two guitars from below the standard series, 000E Walnut Ambertone and 0016E Granadillo. Can you please elaborate a little more about those models, Spoon?
Yeah, well, Granadillo is a very dense wood that is used by Spanish guitar makers, Latin American guitar makers, and it works really well with small bodies. They don't make a D16 Granadillo, I think, specifically because it might be a little too dark and thick, so they go with one of the African mahoganies, I think, for the 16, and dreadnought. But the double O and the triple knot, double knot, really nice meaty tone, and I like meaty Martin tone. And with the Ambertone, that particular guitar, maybe it's the soundboard on that particular guitar, but I don't even know if it's the same one that I played when I was at Maury's shop long ago now. So it may not even be the same one. So that would speak highly for the model. I just think it, again, body size, full, rich tone. And the guitar that I reviewed on my site is actually a walnut guitar. Well, I like the sound of walnut. It's its own sound and works really well whether you want something different to go in your collection or if the particular sound, just happens to grab you.
Question for Maury Rutch. This is a great question. I wondered that myself recently, but Kooky says, you started your business in 2003. Will you make a Maury Limited OM28V Maury signature for 2023?
Ooh.
I probably should. That's something I have not given any thought to, but it would time right. And yeah, I'll say maybe that would be pretty fun. Now, would you want me to recreate my guitar or just take an OM28 and give it a V-neck? Because if you guys were curious enough, the OM28V that this guitar is based from, the 1998 version had a long saddle that was glued in, the regular Martin pickguard, and it had the entire sound hole. So what I could do in 2023 is whatever this sound hole looks like at the time, we could copy that. We could give it the short, regular belly bridge with the short drop-in saddle. I don't know if I can find Greven pickguards anymore. Maybe it could be a relic. I know Aaron's toyed with that idea. Maybe a relic version of exactly this. If it's still together in 2023, I think that'd be fun.
Can I volunteer for breaking out the sound hole in each one with the hammer?
You certainly can. Yeah.
I think you should. I think if you're going to do that, Maury, you should do it like for like. You should recreate that guitar times say 5 and sell them. I think you should do that. And that brings me on to Relicking, because I'm not a fan of any kind of ding in my guitar, and yet a part of me would buy that guitar with the Relicking because it is what it is. It's a copy of that guitar. So this whole Relicking. What do you think about Martin doing the Relicking spoon on their guitars?
Well, like a lot of people that are like me, new and different is a negative thing at first. I had no idea how popular they are across the industry. And Jeff Allen, who is in charge of, is the guy who was the real genius behind it, had worked at Gibson and Fender, and was and learned a lot of techniques in the Fender custom shop on Relicking, and was very excited about taking it into the acoustic guitar world and learning how to do it properly, where the finish checking on the finishes and stuff is remarkable. And there are other people. There's a guy in England that was famous for doing it, and Martin actually, this is one of those things I'm probably getting in trouble for talking about. They actually bought one of his guitars because they really, really wanted to check it out, and they were so completely underwhelmed with what they saw this guy do to the guitars. So they're very Jeff, very adamant. He's been promoted way up in the ranks now, but he still does hands-on stuff. That's really his baby. Still does hands-on Relicking stuff. And the guitars, they all look like each D28, Relic D28 has the same basic blueprint, but they're all still unique because it's all done by hand. Now, the one thing about it is the finish checking. The old dried out Martins, finish checking is that micro cracking that happens in old lacquer that supposedly happens from humidity fluctuation, sudden changes in humidity, or like putting your guitar in the seat of your, in the trunk of your car and in an old case and driving it up and down the mountain, the temperature changing or whatever. Environmental changes. But other people say the difference between the old Martins from the 30s and 40s that sound spectacular and the ones that don't sound that spectacular is how much they've been played in. So the one that's been sitting in somebody's closet for all those years doesn't sound as good as the one that got played every day for 70 years. And that's where a lot of that cracking comes into play. So I won't say it's true, but I would suspect that the Relic Authentic may sound different, maybe sound a little more open because it has the dried out. I don't know how they do the finish checking on the lacquer, but it's not solid lacquer. It's got all those zillions of little cracks in it, and I bet you it makes those soundboards and back and sides flex better for a new guitar.
Can we have a quick bit of scandal? A little bit of scandal thrown into the show. You posted a Gibson J15 video on your YouTube channel. What happened from Kooky?
Well, the only reason I haven't done more with Gibsons is I don't have them available. Twice I got all the way up to the front office at Guitar Center, and I got all the way up to the front office with Smash about being able to go in to, and I'm friends with Rudy Pensa. He liked the idea, but he's basically retired. He doesn't really run the shop anymore. I was looking for a local New York City store that would let me come in and do my kind of review videos specifically for non-Martins, for Gibsons and Goodalls and Collings and Taylors and all that. So I put them on my website, but always somewhere up the chain, some corporate somebody put the kibosh on it, so it didn't actually happen. So, if I lived in Montana, I might be doing this with Gibsons, who knows? But, I'm a Martin guy. I was a Martin guy before I ever met anybody at Martin. I got to know the people in Martin. I got to know Maury because I was a Martin. My ear was Martin. And so, yeah, there are other, if you look down the line, I have other non-Martins on there, but they're few and far between because I can only review the guitars that I can get in my hands. So.
Yeah, no, I was only kidding. I feel the same. I like all guitars, so and I hope that my that adds some value to my channel because I look at everything equally. But I'm not very experienced with Gibsons, and again, I'm not writing them off. I just haven't got around to trying them.
Yeah.
I did do the factory tour. It was kind of cool before they moved. Nice comment here from Jim. I own the original Teaspoon Phillips Martin custom guitar. It's absolutely the best guitar I've ever owned. Great specs, originally ordered through Maury's Music.
Oh, Jim, I
Wow.
didn't mention that one. That was actually my second custom, and I loved that guitar. It was based on the Lawrence Juber signature models with a short scale with a golden era shaped neck to it.
Oh yeah.
And I really Madagascar rosewood. In fact, it's the very first Madagascar rosewood made in the Martin custom shop. Madagascar rosewood guitar was made in custom shop. I don't know, maybe one of the big dealers, some of the dealers had ordered some, but I was the first private citizen to order one the day that Martin allowed that to happen. And I happened to be there. I ordered it face to face from the head of the custom shop in those days, and he said, "Well, I just happen to have my dealer right here." We worked it all out, but it was a spectacular sounding guitar, and I'm glad, very happy that ended up in very worthy hands. In fact, Jim is before the world changes, Boy says Jim's a tour guide at the Martin Factory. He doesn't work at the Martin Factory, but he's a volunteer tour guide, or hopefully they pay him something. But yeah, he owns that guitar that I had to get rid of because I couldn't play those V-necks anymore. The arthritis in my thumb just wouldn't do it.
This fun fact, and you guys can use this at trivia night. Jim and I played the same position on the UMGF softball team back in olden times. If you remember those softball games we used to have, Jim's that's how we know Jim. So
how did you keep from running into each other if you were playing the same position?
I was on the bench most of the time. He didn't run anywhere near the bench, so it was good.
Olds wonders about the difference between OM21 and OM28 also. Similar kind of question to earlier. Should be the same, but OM28 always sounds different. I've only tried an OMC21, and I think the colorway does make a difference to the tone, so I can't really compare them. It was a great sounding guitar, though, I have to say. What are your thoughts on the OM21, Spoon?
Well, the 21s, the modern 21s are basically the same guitar, except they don't have any purfling inlaid around the top. So there isn't the channel, and that might make a difference. The previous 21s had rosewood fingerboards and bridges. Rosewood bridge definitely gives you a different sound. The D21 came out in 1954, may have been, the first year they made them. It was 55, and they appeared in the 56 catalog. They were a rosewood D18. They had not the exact same. They had style 28 dots on the fingerboard, and they might have a 28 backstrip. But they had rosewood fingerboard and bridge, and they had spruce tops and rosewood that they would not put on a 28 that had interesting wild looking grain. And when they brought the 21s back in 1990 or whenever 89, whenever it was, same thing. The OM21 had really interesting grain on it that Fred Martin was too conservative to put on it. He wanted the straight grain on the 28s. But it was definitely the rosewood. It had nothing to do with, they didn't really thin the tops. I mean, everybody's told me at Martin that's all myth, that was not true, but they sound different because they have a rosewood bridge and fretboard, and that definitely makes a difference. That makes for an airier sound than the denser ebony. I like them. I'm glad they're doing them. I'm glad they're out there. I'm glad people still buy the OM21. I think it's great that Martin offers a lower priced all solid wood guitar with a hand fitted dovetail neck joint. And that's really what it's all about for me. I wish they would do others. I wish they would do a triple O21 and the whole works. But
Kooky says, Maury, am I the worst customer you ever had? And this is Aaron Short, because he calls you every Monday, keeps you on the phone for 2 hours. I'd say I'm the best customer, aren't I, Kooky? Because that's what he wants all customers to do.
How can I say this so I get the point across? You are not the worst customer. That means there is somebody out there worse than you. and there are about, well, Andrew gets most of those phone calls, but they're as nice as I can put that. It is not you. He exists, but it is not you, and I can tell you more off the air. Put it that way. I love talking to you. So.
It's so I won't say it, but when I was the one time I did come to your store, a phone call, I overheard a phone call that came in, and I sat and thought to myself, I feel pretty good about myself right now because that person's worse than me. I won't go into that.
You can hear stories.
We had a quick question about VTS. I personally have not yet played a VTS guitar that I've enjoyed, but I'm still open to finding one. What do you think about VTS? Is that something you would do to your guitar, Spoon?
I'm not a VTS guy. I kind of like, I'm aging myself, but I like wearing the holes in my jeans myself. So no acid wash jeans for me. I think it's a definite thing. I think it's pretty amazing how much three-dimensional depth it adds to the sound of a new guitar. And I also think it dries out the sound of a new guitar. So, and I know Tim Till likes that about the VTS Sitka. And he says, when he first started playing it, he couldn't believe how much it sounded like Adirondack spruce to his ear because of the ping. You get a really pronounced high-end ping off the treble strings, and there's that openness, that kind of bigger three-dimensional space. I don't know how to put it. But I think it also gives you a little less of that, what I call that smoky rosewood tone that you get in mahogany too. A little less of the darker end in the mids and stuff, because it kind of opens it up. And so I think it's I know people absolutely love their VTS guitars and their authentics and stuff. And even though they will tell you that the drying out has happened, the cellular interiors are crystallized now. So that top is not going to break in anymore. But 28 Authentic 1931, the 3 consecutive Martin Fest, and it definitely changed. And so while the top is not seasoning, you're still racing through that top, and those cells, the wood is aging, the rosewood's aging, the neck joint's aging, the joinery is getting, side glue's getting, knitting more and more together, so they do age. But like everything, I think it's an acquired taste. It also costs more, so that's a factor too.
This is an interesting question for me, as I have the OMJM. Has the vintage toner formula for Martin changed recently? The recent OMJMs showing up don't look as highlighted yellow as the ones from a few short years ago. Do we have any info on that? Has the vintage toner changed over the years recently, or is it the same? Always been the same?
I have noticed that it has changed over the years. It's also the regular stuff that's on the Claptons used to be really orange, like, if you said Halloween, it wasn't really Halloween orange, but it did look exactly like the top on Clapton's actual guitar that they based it on. And you see a lot of old Martins that have that real dark orange. I do not think the aging toner that's on the Clapton models now I think they've eased off it because they knew that so many people said they didn't like it. Maury's, look at that. Maury's guitar has aging toner from the 1990s on it. But it's also been exposed to the elements in real sunlight, so it's probably darker than it was the day they bought it. So, and if it's not darker, it has more variation in it as the cross-silking and stuff got darker. So I would say yes, it's probably not as dark. And the Mayors particularly were yellow, weren't they? I thought the original Mayors looked quite more yellow than orange to my eye. Mm-hmm. What about yours, Aaron? What would you say? Well, do you say you have a yellowish?
Yeah, I think so. I like the top. I actually wonder if the top will change with time. I think it will. I think I've seen them. I've seen these look quite orange. So I don't know what happens.
Well, yeah, it'll definitely age. But yours is also Engelmann too, so it's not. So putting the same toner on Sitka or a European is not going to look exactly the same as it does on the Engelmann top. Engelmann's very white spruce.
Someone said, where are you guys from originally? That's a good question. Where are you from, Maury?
Where am I from?
Yeah.
A town called Nesquehoning in Pennsylvania. So I'm Pennsylvania the whole time.
Spell
it.
No.
And Spoon, I should know because I interviewed you, but where are you from originally?
I grew up in a courthouse city called Findlay, Ohio, about 100 miles south of Detroit in northwest Ohio. Flat corn and soybeans, and German beer festivals.
And Marco said, earlier today, knowing that Spoon will be your guest, I opened up his YouTube channel and listened to his Music for Social Distance audience. Nice.
Oh, well, very nice.
And we should tell people, if people want to hear your music, Spoon, where can they hear it? What's your YouTube channel address, or where's the best place to hear your music?
Well, I have two, because One Man's Guitar is where I do my my music reviews, but I did put my COVID concerts on there because I get a much bigger audience on that site. My personal site's called TSP Guitar, and that's both the YouTube and tspguitar.com. That's my site as a player. And I must admit, on Thanksgiving Day, I was saying, I better put a notice on there about this show, and I completely forgot. So when you go on there, it's not to be on there. But I will put a link to the replay.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget, you can watch the replay. John Gilly Jr. says, I want a D28 1937 aged, but I'm too poor. I want to sniff its sound hole. So I'll give it one of them right there.
I don't blame you one bit.
Right, I'm coming up to the end of the comments now, and we'll wrap it up. Roeth, hi, buddy. You were here the whole time? I didn't. Yeah. But I did see you at the start. My opinion is that stuff like VTS, Relicking, even aging toner is cheating. Let those guitars age naturally. And again, it's very personal, isn't it?
And how old are you? Some people don't want to wait for 70 years.
Yeah, he has time.
Yeah.
Your guitar, since I don't make it more with a V. That's the only thing, Maury. If you made your guitar as a custom shop order next until 2023, the V neck might put me off. But then I believe if you recreate a guitar, you should recreate it the same as it was. So I don't know. That's a tough call.
Well, I might recommend making 5 of one and 5 of the other, because there's going to be people who would love to buy that guitar that aren't going to want the wider V neck, and other people want it specifically because of the wider V neck.
Yeah.
But
I know. Make it the same. Make 5 the same, and then 5 without the V-neck, without the relicking. So like the modern version, the clean version, and then the Aaron version and the Maury version. There you go. Perfect.
There's enough things we could do to it to make it special without the V-neck, but we'll see.
Relic guitars are like new distressed jeans. They look good on the outside, but got no soul. Wow, that's deep.
Ooh. Harsh.
Peter Gregg, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it.
Hey, Peter.
Thanks for bringing us these different people into our homes. Hello to Maury. Thumbs up to Aaron. They like
Peter,
that
I
I
love your
bring
stuff, man. I watch your channel all the time. Thank you.
They like that I'm bringing people into the homes. Okay, nice. Yeah, check out Peter Gregg if you like cameras. He's the camera guy.
Awesome channel, Spoon. You got to check that out. It's really good stuff.
Yes, I only noticed you talking about that the other day, so I will have to do that.
Chris Hull, I love my OM28 Modern Deluxe. Sorry, Spoon, I'm just trying to wrap up for all the questions before we get any more coming. No, I appreciate them all. I think we've addressed most of them. We've done well here today. BMO, hey Spoon, how has the glue changes affected the sound of the guitars? How important is the glue that they use?
Well, obviously the white wood glue that they've used since 1966 makes some great guitars. But I do believe that hide glue gives you, particularly as the guitar ages, it's a different kind of bond, and you get more energy coming through it. I think it has less dampening effect than modern glues. But you're still talking very subtle stuff. The thin finish probably affects the sound even more than the hide glue, in my opinion, in terms of the responsiveness and the resonance of a relatively young guitar.
Okay, I'm posting both. I'm posting a link
What's
to
that,
Spoon's website there for you to go and check it out. There.
Or maybe not.
Yeah. Go check it out. And don't forget to subscribe to Maury's music as well. Did you pick up some more guitars today, Maury?
I did.
Woo!
In the pouring rain. It was like a typhoon. And as soon as
Oh
I
yeah,
got
we
the
had a
van
total
set up,
typhoon
it was
too.
awful.
Yeah.
Here as well, yeah.
My feet are still wet, I swear to God.
Roeth, are any of us working on new albums?
I've got a bad finger, and I have not been able to play guitar for about almost 3 months. And only recently have I been able to play. Like Monday when I did that guitar review, that's the first time I played for more than like 5 minutes in a long time. And the whole video is only like 6 minutes long. So I hope to get back to doing some internet shows again too. But right now I'm healing from an injury to the main knuckle in my middle finger.
Well, we hope you get better soon. And Roeth also says, fair enough, I'm in my mid-30s, so I can afford to wait for my guitars to age naturally.
I knew it.
I remember that.
So that's good
I'm
to
actually
know.
thinking about working on an album of. I have 2 albums from 1997 and 1999, and I'm really considering doing an acoustic version of some of the songs from each album in an updated version where the songs are probably the same and the structure is slightly different, but it's just one vocal, one guitar, really just to bring them into 2020. But I don't want to do anything this year because this year sucks. So maybe into the spring of 2021.
Good point. Very good point.
I can't wait till New Year's Eve and you can just throw this whole thing that way. But yeah, into next year, I think I'm going to try to do something like that.
I've been wanting to make a album of my songs that I sang and wrote with the people that I've played with in bands around New York City, and that all got derailed too. I thought I was going to start working on that this year, so maybe 2021 is the way to go with that.
Yep. I'm actually working on a new album right now, and I've got several ideas that just came to me for new songs. Here's one right here.
Awesome.
Catchy. That's catchy.
Kind of catchy, right?
And then I'm out of here.
And then for some reason I keep hearing this in my head. Too fast, sorry. I just can't get it out of my head. It's amazing. It's so catchy. I dream about it every night.
I got to tell you, Aaron, quite seriously, Maury keeps telling me, people keep asking him about my stuff on my album. Is there any tablature of music? And I can finally say, yes, there is. So I had no idea how to do that stuff, but there is going to be some tabs available to some of my music coming up. So maybe you can learn one of those. Maybe it'll get that earworm out of your ear.
We are going to, when I hit 10,000 subs, we're going to do like a giveaway or something where you have to play a video of you playing Maury's riff, and then I'll choose the best, or maybe write a song to the riff, like write a whole song about sniffing guitars to the riff of his song. I've got so many ideas to keep me going with videos for the next 20 years. It's awesome. No problems there. All right. Let's wrap it up. I have to say thank you so much for Spoon Phillips. First of all, thank you for helping me out in the chat all these weeks and months. Your knowledge is awesome. And thank you for coming on, because it's even better having you here in person. So I'm going to give you a big, big, big round of applause right here. Awesome. Everyone, check out the website. I put the link in the chat. Make sure you subscribe to Spoon's YouTube channel and follow him on social so you know what he's up to. And hopefully he'll agree to come back here in the future as well, because I'm sure there's millions of things I didn't even use the questions from the forums that I found. We just answered all your questions and a few of mine. We went for over 2 hours. And then for Maury Rutch, I'm going to give him this round of applause. Make sure you subscribe to Maury's Music YouTube channel. and watch his awesome unboxings and demos of the awesome guitars he has. But just make sure you freeze those credit cards before you do. No, I'm just kidding. Don't freeze the credit card. That's not good. And thank you for supporting my channel. Make sure you check out the Soundhole Sniffer t-shirt and mugs for your Christmas gifts. And make sure you subscribe and ring the bell. You have to ring the bell on YouTube. Otherwise, when we go live or post a video, YouTube doesn't tell you. You don't know about it. So make sure you ring the bell and select all notifications, and then you'll be notified of everything. So this has been great. This is the first time we've had 3 people on at once, and I think it worked really well. And as always, it would be nothing without the chat. We had over 40 people watching today for most of the whole time. So thank you so much. And if you've got friends that like Martin guitars or acoustic guitars, do invite them to join us next Monday and every Monday at 4 p.m. EST, so they can become a part of our little community as well, because it's really fun. It's really nice. Have I missed anything? Is there any last words you guys would like to add before I turn it off?
I want to say thank you very much for both of you, and I do appreciate all the time you put into this, and it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome.
That's good. Yeah, it's been a really, really fun, great time. It's great to know that many people chimed in, and even more that didn't chime in. So I hope everybody's holidays continue to improve, and let's do it again sometime.
Amen.
I'd love to. I've heard rumors that there will be a few announcements next year, around January. I've heard rumors about certain guitars that may be coming out. So maybe we can do this again with like a reaction if that does happen, Spoon. These rumors were not from Spoon or Maury, by the way. I'm just saying. I've heard little things in the air and nothing specific. But I do think there's some cool stuff coming, as there always is, of course. Actually, just to make sure I don't get these guys in trouble, I think Fishman went live last week and they had Tim Teal, and even he was talking about it. So there's definitely some more stuff coming, is my point. And I will definitely ask this. I'd love to have a panel on here, maybe a bigger panel, maybe, to discuss our initial reactions of anything that's released, because I just think this stuff is really fun to talk about. In my opinion, I hope you all agree, because otherwise we won't have a YouTube channel, right? So. All right, I'm going to wrap it up so these guys can go and get some food. We've been doing like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Thank you for your time, gentlemen. I will see you next time. Maury, I'll see you next Monday. Everyone be well and take care and stay safe. And we'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye-bye. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.